everyone, and welcome to this supplementary live stream to my latest true crime video. People seem to enjoy the one I did for my previous true crime video, so I thought I'd give some extra thoughts on the creation of this project of mine. And boy, oh boy, do I have some extra thoughts. It was quite the project, but I'll get into that momentarily. First, a few hellos. Jamie Melquist, hello. Swirl Blue, hello. Noah Asensio, hello. And there was someone else who was here earlier. Old Guy Gamer, hello. So, Free to Kill, Alonso Perez. The pathway that took me to this case was similar to the previous. In my previous true crime video, I had been challenged by a couple of people who had commented on the video, had commented on the Ralph Shorty video, my first one, that that case was too well known, that things that are more obscure and unknown are more interesting that haven't been done a million times. And to a certain extent, I agree. I would feel like I was, running over well-trodden road by doing a case that is very well known. And so that's what led me to, in the previous video, the rather old and all by itself not that exciting interrogation footage of Pierre Carey. And so for this third round, I was like, okay, well, what do I do now? And so I started looking around. Well, if everything has to be based around interrogation footage, if I am to be a true Jim personator, there has to be interrogation footage. And then I came across, well, the video you see in Free to Kill. And I remembered seeing this video several years ago because at the time it was kind of a meme thing. But I looked at it and I thought to myself, what's the story? Because aside from the fact that the guy escaped from the interrogation room, I didn't know anything about him. I didn't know why he was there. I didn't know where he went. For some reason in my mind's eye, I had thought that he was being held on something relatively mundane, like, I don't know, robbery or assault or something that wasn't the end of anybody's world. But of course, as I started looking into it, it became a lot bigger than I imagined. Also, as I looked at it, those of you who are Jim Can't Swim fans, you might get this. I saw it as kind of like a meta joke about the whole Jim Can't Swim genre. In that, yes, there's interrogation footage here without an actual interrogation. So the element is there, but it's completely absent of the key point that most Jim Can't Swim videos have. So that's kind of my little poking fun at the deluge of Jim Can't Swim inspired videos, of which I am a contributor. I do not, divest myself of that responsibility, but all the same, I don't take it all that seriously. So I thought that was kind of funny in a way, but the subject matter. So I'm gonna brag here for a minute, okay? And I'll explain why I'm able to say this, or at least I think I can say this with some authority. I truly believe that my video on the Alonso Perez saga, as far as I can tell, may indeed be the most comprehensive retelling of all of the events and the majority of the crimes committed by Alonso Perez in that time period leading up to his arrest, escape, and rearrest. I truly believe this. Why do I believe this? Because as I researched this case, and you can go on the description of the video, the Free to Kill video, and I have a link there to the sources I used, or at least most of them, to research this case. You will also notice that it's not a list of links to articles like I've done in previous videos, but rather a paste bin. That's because I had to look up, I can't even count, zillions of articles, not zillions, but a lot. If you look on there, there's a lot, and I have them listed chronologically as far as occurrence. Because here's the thing. No single article contained all the details of exactly what happened before, during, and after his escape. Every time I found a new article, there was some new detail. And I was actually shocked by the lack of information about when the crimes took place, where the shooting happened, was there a connection between Perez and the individual, all this stuff. And so every time that I looked at a new article, I found something new because one media outlet would report it in a very scant way. Another media outlet would report it in a scant way, but with more detail. And as I started writing the script, my procedure was just start writing out in blocks everything you can find out about each case. And I just thought that there was, at the time, I think I thought there was like 3 shootings. That's as much as I knew. He killed 3 people. But as I looked into it, they kept mentioning like, oh, he had done this other thing a month earlier, or he's also been implicated in these other crimes. And I'm like, what other crimes? They would say like attempted murder or assault or something, but not give any details. But then some article a month later would say something about it. And an article in a different newspaper would say something about something else. And it just began to build and become bigger and bigger and bigger. And this chain of events, these multiple crimes that he committed over the course of 3 months or so, just got longer and longer as I researched it. And so each of these blocks where I was dumping all the details I could about each case or each incident just became more complex. And so the biggest labor in creating this thing was gathering up as many facts and details as I could about each individual crime committed because they were all over the place. There was no single source. So, like I say, I may be telling stories out of school, but save for perhaps maybe the court record out there, as far as I can tell, my video is a more complete picture of the Alonso Perez case than any single media source available thus far. I am happy to be corrected on that because I could at least then sympathize with someone else who had to go through researching this, but all the same. So that being said, yeah, this guy and his multiple crimes. And I don't mean to dwell on this too much, but the lack of details on some of these cases, you'll see it in the video where I say, the reason for this has gone unreported, or the information on Alonso Perez's background is unavailable. There's nothing. I mean, maybe it's floating out there somewhere. Maybe there's a whole biography on the guy, but actual details about Alonso Perez, scant at best. Actual details about the locations, the circumstances of the crimes he committed, very hard to come across, at least in the media. And I also have to give a couple of sort of editorial notes for reference. Several of the maps I used, the locations I circled are approximate because, again, except in a couple of instances where there was a specific location where something occurred, like a McDonald's or a hotel or something, a lot of the areas mentioned about where these crimes took place were very, near this cross street or within this block of whatever. So for anybody looking for actual GPS exactitude with the location of some of these crimes, I apologize. I did the best I could with the information I had. Secondly, as was brought up by Lexi Mads in one of the comments on the video, yes, I know that the subtitles on a couple of instances there lack punctuation, specifically apostrophes. I don't know why my Vegas program, when I put text into overlay, removes the punctuation, but it does, and I can't seem to fix it, or I haven't found a way around it. It didn't seem to happen in the Pure Carry video. I think the punctuation's all there. I could be mistaken, but either way, I saw it after I'd already published the thing, and I already knew it was going to be there, so yeah, it wasn't that there weren't apostrophes in the text that I wrote. There just wasn't apostrophes when it got translated over to Vegas 14. So there you go for that one. Okay, so yeah, the complexity of this video and this project came down primarily first and foremost, to actually hammering out a comprehensive, detail-ridden, but easy to follow script of the events. And that took a long time to whittle it all down to something that was uh, both, cohesive and concise. I think I did an all right job. You be the judge. The second thing that became kind of a difficult um, process, as compared to the previous two videos, as you can tell, a lot more happened. In the Ralph Shorty case, as I said in the previous supplementary live stream, was a relatively straightforward case. It was before, during, after interview, done. There wasn't a whole lot to have to summarize or represent on screen, because as well, in the Ralph Shorty case, I had news footage and body cam footage and interview footage to work from. In the Pierre Carey case, there was a lot of things to represent insofar as the background of the family in the events leading up to the murder, but it was relatively straightforward, and there weren't a whole lot of real fine details to have to go through. With Alonso Perez, there was so much going on that one of the challenges became how many and how to represent these things visually. So I had to look for a lot of images and stock footage, or, abstracts that kind of, represented different instances or different things. That became difficult just because I wanted it to look good, but I didn't want to lean too heavily on the same image or the same piece of stock footage over and over again, because how many different ways can you represent someone holding a gun in a shooting kind of thing? Well, fortunately, I found some ways to do that. But in some instances, I didn't have anything to put on the screen to represent something, especially when I was just doing commentary. So that's why my avatar shows up a couple of times in there, because it's like, now I'm just telling you either what I know or what little I learned, and there you go. So yeah, the script and then finding visual representations for everything was 90% of why this thing took as long and was as complicated as it was for me. That also became kind of a bit of a strain over time, because I started becoming like, oh, do I really want to work on this right now? Because it became such a slog, both working on the script and whittling it down to something reasonable, and then the visuals. That was an uphill climb. Something else I want to mention, and you will notice this if you watch the video, of his three victims, or at least the three victims who were killed, I could not for the life of me find a picture of Jeffrey Johnson. Muhammad Robinson, Candelario Duran, those pictures were available. They were used in news reports. And again, if it's out there somewhere and I just missed it, well, that's my bad. But for the life of me, if I try to do a search associating the name Jeffrey Johnson with Alonso Perez, all I got were just text news articles, no images available. And obviously his name is so generic that I couldn't just look up, Jeffrey Johnson, Los Angeles. It just didn't work. So unfortunately, while I wanted to display in a more active way the victims for the sake of, in some way, memorializing them, or, humanizing the loss, I couldn't do so for Jeffrey Johnson. So on the off chance that anybody who knows Jeffrey Johnson or knows where a picture can be found of him, please let me know. I'll at least put a link to it or something in the description for future reference. So after I'd, hammered out the script and I'd recorded all the audio, which in itself is kind of a slog, and then bit by bit, I started building the video. My next big concern, as was with the previous video, copyright claims on music. I have fallen into the pitfall, and I advise anybody who decides to make videos using music that they find on the internet, first and foremost, check and see if it's copyright free. If it has a label on it that's copyright free, okay, that's the first thing. And there are some more reliable sources for that than others. I generally go to the YouTube audio library, or just look on audio library on YouTube. The older a video is on that channel, as in how far back it was posted, the dicier the possibility is that that song is still copyright free. That's what I've learned. So be sure to check the posting dates. If it's something that was just posted, you might be okay. The second thing to do is, if you do find a song that is you like, but is rather old as far as its posting date, the next thing you want to do is go check out, because usually the artist has their SoundCloud account linked in the description to most of those videos. Check out the SoundCloud account. Usually, if a song is still copyright free as of today, there'll be something on there that says so. And so that's why I felt safe, thankfully, generally, because I have been fooled before, using the opening music for the intro, which I thought was perfect, absolutely perfect for what I wanted to set the mood with at the beginning. But I was scared the entire time leading up to actually uploading the video to YouTube that it was going to be dinged for copyright. Thankfully, it wasn't. All the other music I used I had used in previous videos, or were music tracks that had just been posted to the audio library. And in 2 instances, specifically the music during and some of the music just after the escape footage, I found from a YouTuber. I'll just spell it out. OA.ag, I think it is. Let me make sure I got that right. I don't want to mess that up. Anyway, there's an artist on YouTube who just puts songs on his channel, and he's got a note on there that says, all of this is copyright free so long as you credit me in the video and you send me an email telling me how you used my music. And I was like, okay. And so I started listening to his music. And it's co.ag music. Sorry, apologies. co.ag music. And the music that he put together, it's perfect. Absolutely perfect. It's kind of ambient, kind of dark, a little creepy. The track on the escape footage actually reminded me bits and pieces of the soundtrack to Max Payne 3, for anybody who listens to it or knows what that soundtrack is. So yeah, I didn't have any problems with copyright for the songs, thankfully. But the escape footage, yeah, that's owned by TMZ. Yeah, so technically, well, not technically, literally, if that true crime video for some reason ever makes any money, and I didn't monetize it, but I don't know what TMZ might decide to do, all such monies will go to TMZ, because I guess they purchased that escape footage. And yeah, so the raw escape footage was copyrighted. And I only found this out, of course, after I uploaded the video to YouTube, because it gave me a copyright ding and said, this has been claimed. It's not a copyright strike on your channel, but, think about it before you publish it. And I'm like, I thought to myself, the only way I could get around this is if I awkwardly zoom into the video or flip the video around on its orientation or something, and it would look like garbage. And at the same time, it would just be me trying to obviously fool the algorithm and get around the whole deal. And at that point, after as much work as I put in, I was like, you know what? I don't care. I don't monetize these videos to begin with. I'm not. It's not about making money. I mean, first more than anything else, it's about challenging myself to try something new and just to tell a story and see how people react to it. So yes. So TMZ, if you're out there, you are benefiting from hours upon hours and hours of work and research for a minute and a half of escape footage. But hey, them's the breaks, and there you go. And so, yeah, that in a nutshell was my experience in making this video. It's a very gratifying experience, because for as much sort of difficulty / slogging I had to do through it, it was decidedly more complex and a bigger project in production than either of the first 2 videos. And if nothing else, I don't want to just find low-hanging fruit and do easy stuff if I can help it. So if you appreciate the video, just know that a lot of effort went into it. And I'm all by my lonesome. I don't have a research team or an editor or anything else like that. So I know my editing skills are a little bit rudimentary, but hey, I'm learning bit by bit. So anyway, there's my soliloquy on the making of. If you guys have any questions or comments or anything else you'd like to say, I'll give a couple of minutes to that. I don't want this to go too long, so maybe about half an hour. I'll give it about 10 minutes, maybe more. So let me look on the chat and see who else is here, by the way. Mike Savage, God of Plague, Miranda Stone, Ebony Williams, Simon Willikins, Ryan R., Lexi Mads, Angela Ariaga, this is Kyle. Let's see, Cannibalistic Wizard. Anybody else? Emperor W.R. Costin. And I think, until I see other names, let's see, Ryan R. Scribelet, FYI, in many states, it's very easy and cheap to do a Pavlov records request to obtain detailed police reports and other records. It can be done electronically and anonymously. All right, I'll keep that in mind. I'm still new to this whole gathering research materials thing because, as you all know, I'm an investigator, not a journalist, or vice versa, depending if you're, CNN. Lissa Leo, hello. Let's see. Atheist Icon, hello. Chicago Mike, hello. So let's see what else. Lexi Mad says, ugh, TMZ are such bullshitters. If they didn't alter the footage, then it's not theirs to copyright. Well, here's the thing. They may have paid for the footage. They may own the rights to the footage for all I know. If they are in the wrong in doing so, then yeah, I would challenge it. But their claim has been on that video on other versions of it posted since 2016 or thereabouts. So if there was a big problem with it, if they were in the wrong for doing so, I assume somebody would have dinged them on it by now, but they haven't. And I'm not in a position to roll the dice legally with challenging for something that, obviously may not be mine to use technically. So there you go. And like I said, I'm not too concerned about them copyright claiming on it because I've learned a few things now from my YouTube experience. First and foremost, if your video has like 100,000 views, at most, that's maybe $20, right? Because my G.I. Jane movie review with Ranting Monkey, the most watched video on my channel, because I think people, I don't know, either they're really interested in hearing a critique of G.I. Jane, or for some reason they think that it's a link to the movie itself. Either way, it has now nearly, if not almost, 100,000 views. And I've checked, and it is monetized. But since it's been out for the last 3 or 3.5 years or something, I've checked the, how much money has this 100,000 view thing? Last I checked, it was like just under $18. So if this video gets 100,000 views, I'll just be happy with probably the extra number of subscribers or attention the rest of my videos get. I'd pay $20 for that. Sure. Why not? TMZ, yeah, go buy a couple of coffees on me. Whatever. Thank you, Lissa Leo. Loving these true crime videos. Thank you, Lissa. I'm loving the sort of, it's one of those things where it's like the process in getting there is arduous, but once I'm done and it's out in the world and it's there for people to, take a look at and let me know what they think, that's sort of like the afterglow. It's like, okay, I can take a break now. And of course, but the thing that happens immediately thereafter, and I'm not complaining about this, it just sort of like gets my mind churning again. It's like, I love your stuff. Can't wait to see the next one. Like, what is the next one gonna be? I need to take a break. I've been thinking about this for weeks. I need a break. So yeah, it's just one of those things. Atheist Icon, I got it on good authority. VerGG is always late and not what? VerGG. I don't know what that's referencing. Lexi Mads, a commentary video on the saga of the Chris Watts YouTube community. It would be longer than the Lords of the Ring trilogy. I learned a lot. Man, yeah, Chris Watts. boy, oh boy, what case hasn't been done a zillion times and come at from a zillion different angles, right? Uh, the, I mean, honestly, you don't necessarily need to watch any Jim Can't Swim or true crime channels for that. Just watching the raw footage by itself, and there's plenty of places that have it posted, um, tells the story. And I'm going to go off on a tangent here. I've mentioned this before, but there have been countless cases in the past, of course, where you have a crocodile tears murderer, someone who just off somebody or their child or their family, and then they try to hide it. And there's always those stories about how they were acting when police first arrived and was anything suspicious. I'm thinking like specifically of the Chris Coleman case, which happened a while before Chris Watts, but has a lot of similarities. But the Chris Watts case seems so unique because from the very start of the investigation, all the way through basically to the confession and arrest, there's footage. You see him at the scene at the moment that he's basically discovered, and it's so fascinating. Chris Watts by himself, not that interesting of a person. I mean, setting aside his atrocity, he is an idiot. He's a self-absorbed moron. But what's more significant about that case than anything else is, like I say, seeing the investigation from stem to stern on video. That I think is, if that's not unique for the Chris Watts case, it's got to be one of the very few where that's available. And everybody that hasn't seen the Chris Watts video where, the cop shows up to the house, talks to Shanann's friend, and she voices her concerns, and he's walking around the house. And finally, when Chris Watts pulls up, and just watching his behavior is just so fascinating. Knowing, in retrospect, what we know had already happened at that point. It's so bizarre to watch somebody who just offed his entire family and how he behaves in front of police and everything else. It's very interesting, morbidly interesting, but interesting all the same. Let's see. Virgie G. Scribely's talking about my inability to start a stream on time. Oh, okay. Well, welcome to the stream, Virgie. I could start over. Lexi Mads is familiar with my starting over process. You don't necessarily have to be, but that's fine. Alyssa Leo, I love the raw integration and body cam footage. Interrogation body. Yeah. There are several interrogation videos out there. I mentioned this previously that really don't need a whole lot of extra commentary or supplementary information. You can just watch the raw interrogation by itself and just basically get the whole story, more or less. Stephanie Lazarus, Russell Williams. Chris Watts makes more sense as one gigantic, sort of mini series, watching all the video in chronological order, the body cam footage, the news interviews, the interrogation videos, and then finally not finally, but the sentencing video where he's finally sentenced. And then, of course, when they went back to the prison months later to interview Chris Watts again and get some more details from him, it's an epic tale all by itself, just for the sheer amount of media and recording of the events. And it's significant for that. Chris Watts himself, not exactly a criminal genius, and thankfully not, in the sense that he was caught very quickly. Let's see. Who else? Oh yeah, Lexi Mads, prevent another seizure. If I could wave a magic wand and prevent a seizure from ever happening to you again, I would. You'll notice that, save for the little ring around my avatar here, there are no flashing lights or a lot of movement going on. So I'm at least contributing in that regard. Let's see. Virgie G. Not how many means me starting my streams, LOL. Oh, yes. Punctuality is important. Or setting a regular schedule. There's a few little pieces of advice that, me and Ranting Monkey and Satsu and others have given out over the years. And if you're setting up a channel or you're setting up a series of videos or something, or a regular event, having a schedule, sticking to the schedule, being on time for the schedule, or, if something comes up, at least giving people enough notice that something's come up. Very important. Very important. Speaking of which, you can find me tomorrow, Sunday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, for the Sunday stream, where I think I found what I'm going to be going over, and I'll be visiting, at least abstractly, an old friend in a brief series of videos I did in the past. I won't give it away right now. The thumbnail I'll create in the near future will probably give it away. But yeah, if you want to hang out with me tomorrow morning, that's where I'll be, right here at that time for that thing. And let's see, Alyssa Leo again, you see the tactics the police use to get to the truth. It's so fascinating. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, as an example of investigation, police procedure, tactics, all of it, the Chris Watts case is ridiculously informative, ridiculously interesting to pay attention to for that fact. And like I say, I think it's if not the only one of the very few where you have so much in the way of documentary resources for how that case proceeded from the beginning to the end. And that's what makes Chris Watts significant. But it also makes it obviously something that has been looked at, talked about, analyzed beyond measure. And it's nothing that I'll ever touch upon in one of my own videos. But anyway, guys, I'm going to call it there. Just wanted to give a little, backup details for this one, like I did the last. I'll probably make that a going forward tradition. If you have any questions otherwise on the video, you can leave them in the comments here or in the comments on the video itself. Please be sure to like and share. The amount of people that know the video exists helps. And not just for me, but any other content creator that you happen to like. So if you like a content creator's stuff, be sure to tweet it out there, Facebook it, whatever. And in my case, and in other content creators as well, I also highly advise and request that if you retweet my stuff out specifically on Twitter, that you tag me in your tweet so that I know that you did so I can thank you personally, because I really do appreciate it. And I promise you, other content creators will appreciate it as well. So with that, everyone, again, thank you for joining me. Moderators, those of you that were here, thank you for keeping an eye on things, even though everyone here was so well behaved. There wasn't really much to do, but there never really is. Everyone who donated, Lissa Leo, thank you so much for your generosity. I really do appreciate it. And with that, guys, I hope you all have a good rest of your weekend. I hope you are all safe and well. And if you are not well, please get well soon. And I will see you on the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.